Do we really need this word?
It was a filthy word.
It's a compliment.
It's real. It comes from somewhere.
You just need to calm down.
Sick of it.
Mind-blowing.
Do you know what? Bring it on.
Yeah, just scrap it all.
This is so messed up.
What do loud, ambitious and clean have in common? These can be good things, but as a society, we have found a way to take these words, distort them and use them against women. I've been speaking to some amazing women about a whole bunch of these words that they want to reclaim, repurpose or scrap. I've loved it, it's been so uplifting and I hope it is for you too. But perish the thought, we should show how we feel.
The word I want to talk about today is emotional. Initially, when you say it, I have negative connotations. I always think emotional means too sensitive or irrational. It's a very gendered word, I feel. It's a word that's associated with women. Oh, look at her, she's too emotional. Don't get emotional on us now. What, are you on your period? This kind of malarkey and rubbish. I actually think emotional is a great word because it shows you've got emotions, that you are human, and that is good. A question I get asked a lot is, oh, have you built up a thick skin over the years of working on television? And I'm like, not really. Like, someone says something mean, it still hurts. And I think we're told like having a thick skin is really good. And a thick skin, if you kind of think about it, the reason why like thick skin happens is normally you've been wounded so much that it has to keep kind of building up and you've got scar tissue. If we're just thick skinned all the time, we'll never show any empathy to other people. We'll never be able to create change. We'll be a lot more selfish, and I think we need to take back this emotional word, and it's not this silly little word. It is a strong, powerful word, and emotions are powerful, and human experience is powerful, and human feeling is powerful and a necessity.
For all genders, being emotional is a great thing. My mum always said not to bottle it up. But one thing I would like to bottle is star quality.
The word I've chosen today is diva. I would define diva as someone who is a strong, powerful female. When I think about divas, I think about the amazing, great singers who paved the way for, people like myself. Another person also is my mum. She was a singer too in Soul to Soul. So I think of her as a strong, female, powerful woman. She'd always say to me, right, you've got to be a diva. And I'd be like, okay, what does that mean? And she'd be like, you've got to be strong, you've got to be confident, you've got to be sure of what you're doing, and you've got to practice what you're doing, and whatever you choose to do in life, be a diva. But she meant it as being a strong, independent, powerful woman. She never meant it in any other way. Unfortunately, in some people's minds, the word diva actually is a negative. I've been called a diva in a negative way. It's upset me. It brings me to a very sad place because first of all, I think to myself, well, where have they got that from? And then you read the story that comes with it and you go, well, that's not true. And how are they able to even print that? Because I know my heart and I know that the true meaning of it is something completely different. In 2013, I'd moved to New York and I'd done a few performances there. And that's when I got called a diva for the first time, and they introduced me on stage as the UK's British diva. And they kept reeling off these positive things associated to the word diva, and I cried because I was so overwhelmed. And I was like, this is it. This is the word diva that my mum told me to be, and you guys know the meaning, and it's great. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the strength of these amazing women I have around me. And I give thanks for that because we all need each other. And the strength that we could build together is much stronger than one person trying to do it alone. So all women are divas and all women are amazing and they're all queens.
So let's skip reading the tabloid lies in future and their takedowns of women. It's time to be a diva and embrace what you're capable of.
I've chosen ambitious. Ambitious is a funny one because it started meaning it was a really positive word. It was filled with possibility, let's say. And then as time went on, I began to recognise that ambitious, to say you were ambitious as a woman was like, sorry? You're what? It was a filthy word. If you were a man and you were ambitious, it was just you were, a hot shot. You were a guy with a purpose, but with A woman, it was you were aggressive, you were grabby, you were competitive, you were ruthless. There was a whole load of connotations that I was just completely unaware of. And I was told many, many times to, just get the job that everybody else has. I don't know what. I wanted to work in fashion. Get a nice, steady job and buy clothes at the weekend. This one particular time I was interviewed, it was on a chat show. The host said, you're really ambitious. And he was like, no, but really, that relentless drive, where does it come from? And I thought, oh my God. I felt like I was being kind of shoved into the middle of the room and everyone was pointing at me for being this hungry, greedy woman. And I thought, that. It didn't feel like an observation. It felt like an accusation. I thought if people were watching this and young girls were watching this and saw this, almost like a shaming for owning the part of you that's ambitious, I thought that's quite dangerous, actually. I think we need to reclaim the word ambition, because actually it's just about harnessing kind of energy and a capacity to want to do things. You don't have to play small just to make other people feel comfortable.
Talking of playing yourself down to make others comfortable, get ready to do the opposite of what you're told with this next word.
The word that I've chosen is calm, specifically when it's put with calm down. For me, it's a way of silencing women. It's a way of repressing women. It's a way of telling women, don't forget your place. When I'm talking about feminism, when I'm talking about gender rights, there's always someone, unfailingly, who just kind of goes, all right, just calm down there. And I think I'm discussing the rights of women and the fact that we don't have the same rights as you. I will not be calm about it. It's not something to be calm about. It's not something that I think we should just gently discuss while sipping our afternoon tea. 2 weeks ago, I got told to calm down in the workplace. Before I kind of got into work, I'd sent a few emails, I'd asked for a few things to be done, all completely professional emails. Just wondering if you could get this sorted for tonight, for work. Smiley face. There were smiley faces in this email. Got into work. I said, hey, how are you? How are you doing? And one member who heads up this team turned around to me and he went, calm down. You just need to calm down. And I genuinely looked around the room because I thought, you cannot be talking to me. You just calm down. Just need to calm down. Just sending all these emails. I looked at him and I just said, what do you mean? In terms of reclaiming the word calm, I don't think it needs to go in the scrap heap. I think we just need to reassign it. So I think we should tell men to calm down instead. So, when a man comes into a meeting and he starts swinging his dick around with all of his big balls ideas, why don't we tell them to calm down then? Why don't we just go, Steve, I think you need to calm down? Or when a guy comes into the office and starts talking about how many women he had sex with last night, why doesn't everyone turn around and go, Gary, just need to calm down, mate? I think you need to calm down. Be the opposite of all the things that men don't want you to be when they tell you to calm down. So they don't want you to be vocal, they don't want you to be loud, they don't want you to be emotional, they don't want you to be candid, they don't want you to lead, they don't want you to be forthright, they don't want you to have opinions. So be all of those things. I think that there is a genuine, real fear from women that they're going to be seen as hysterical or irrational, because we've tied hysterical and irrational to female emotion. We've said that when you display any kind of emotion, you're hysterical. And we have to get away from that, because realistically, women should be allowed to be emotional and angry and pissed off. There's a lot to be pissed off about.
Yeah, Gary, why don't you calm down? Hashtag calm down, Gary. As Salma said, I think right now is the time to get fired up.
I've chosen anger. Anger can be multifaceted. I think it can be positive or negative. It can be toxic sometimes, but it can also be a channel for action. And when I think about anger, I think about the positive kind that's a reaction to injustice. It's about acknowledging that harm has been done to you, or that oppression is happening to someone else, and refusing to stand by and let it happen. Men's anger is very much normalized, Women's anger, much less so, and is often stereotyped and caricatured in more demeaning ways. It's quite obvious that there are stereotypes around Black women and women of colour not being permitted anger, and when they express anger being stereotyped. And similarly, as a trans woman, we're often not allowed to be angry, I feel, because when we are, we're stereotyped as mannish and aggressive and denied our gender. Whereas the reality is that we can be women and be angry. If anger was permitted to women in the same ways it was to men, and men had to become used to more of a level playing field in expressions of anger, I think it would have quite a radically transformative effect on society. I think very much the repression of women's emotion is one of the ways in which, for example, patriarchy, male dominance in a lot of fields is maintained. And actually, if we allowed women anger and didn't punish them for it, or discourage them from expressing it or encourage them to repress it, I think that would have quite a transformative effect on society. I think it's always worth sitting and reminding yourself, actually what you're feeling is a valid thing. It's real. It comes from somewhere. You're not wrong for feeling angry. You have a reason to be angry.
I love what Shon said about anger being a channel for action against injustice. The unfairness of our next word is how it's used to make women feel a certain way about their bodies.
The word I've chosen is clean. Clean for me is something that I have been constantly convinced that I am not. It's been adverts and marketing that's convinced me. The first time I was convinced that my vulva and vagina, which are two different things, were unclean was when I saw like a body wash that was made apparently for your vagina, and then I started to worry that maybe my vagina needs cleaning, but it doesn't. Like cleaning your vagina is like cleaning your esophagus. It's not a thing you can do. It's an internal body part which is self-cleaning, and the vulva just needs water. As a girl, I was continuously told that like every fluid that came out of my body was unclean. From the day I started sweating, to vaginal and vulval juices, to my period, to my breast milk. Somebody, when I was feeding my daughter in a cafe, asked if I would like it if they did a wee in the cafe while I was eating, as if those two things were the same. All of these fluids, I was just constantly told that they were dirty. But then semen is like this holy, holy liquid. I think there's a massive double standard in what's seen as clean and not clean. I don't even like saying the word juicy or vulva, but we've convinced so much that even saying the words like moist and juicy are the words that most women I know are like, ugh, ugh. It's not only that making us feel unclean about all these bodily fluids makes us ashamed and poorer because we waste our money on stuff, but it also stops us having pleasure that we could otherwise have. Like, it stopped me for years enjoying masturbating and sexual relations as much as I could have. What I'd more like to see is us getting comfortable using words like wet and vulva and juicy and moist and menstruation. Like, there's a lot of words which we're not all right using, but I think clean is such a loaded word.
And if clean is loaded, which it is, get ready for these next words.
The word I have chosen is feminine hygiene. Feminine hygiene is basically quite a capitalist, insidious way of making women feel even more self-conscious about areas of their body in a way to make profit. And the word hygiene, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. I feel like it almost insinuates that there is something dirty about the fact that we menstruate. When I was younger, and I would have my periods, I definitely had that that bit of shame whenever I had to go and buy like my sanitary towels and I was in the supermarket, and I'll just be like lingering around the aisles just to see if there were any men there, because I didn't want the men to know that I was on my period. And so I would like wait for like up to 5 minutes until the line was clear, and then I'll just like run towards the aisle, get the one that I need, and then just like dart off. And I was just like, why do we need to do that? Feminine, again, I think is quite an archaic term used to kind of label and categorize women. And, you know, we are now in a society now where people are feeling so much more confident in being able to be identified as trans and non-binary and all of these things. And so to use that word, I think, again, it's box is putting a specific type of people in a box. I just find it interesting that we don't really have a market or hear a lot about male hygiene. I'm not seeing products for smegma, or I'm not seeing products for, you know, oh, if you've got musty balls, then you can use this product. It's another example of the way in which women's bodies are policed and how we are expected to present ourselves in society. Yeah, just scrap it all.
Toiletries, and menstrual products if you want to be specific, are words that do the job nicely. So from scrapping a word, let's go to one we can own.
I chose sexy. For me, sexiness is a thing that I generate for myself before anyone else. I love the sensation of feeling sexy. It feels powerful. It feels like a space where I have a lot of agency because I get to decide what that looks like. Less and less am I like pandering to societal expectations of what sexy is, and I'm kind of really taking that, looking inwards and figuring out what that means for me. Sex appeal is something that I think we kind of put on all bodies to an extent, but especially when it comes to women, just because women's bodies are policed more, and women's bodies historically are seen as more sexual, you know, like it goes all the way back to Eve, tempting with that pesky apple, you know, like we're seen as like the temptress. And so our bodies and particular areas of our bodies have been sexualized for so long. And we are also more recently just like constantly bombarded with images of what a sexy woman looks like. For men, I think sexiness is something that they can opt into, whereas societally, women are expected to carry that around with them just all the time. My aim is to try and get myself and other people to move further and further away from the way that we think we should do things, whether that's sex or sexiness or like desire, pleasure, any of those things, and instead think about the way that we actually want that to look in our lives.
And while we're on the topic of how things look in our lives, I was so shocked at the body shaming in sport that I heard about in my next chat.
The word I've chosen is muscular. To me, if someone uses that word, it's a compliment. I like to be called muscly or muscular. I think, oh, thank you. I've been training really hard. To become muscular, you've got to be determined. You've got to be, you've got to be dedicated to what you're doing to get to that stage. And you've also got to be strong-minded. It's not really a word that's seen as attractive or beautiful when it's referred to as a woman. So you have to know that that's what you want, and you have to be happy with that. When I first started sport, one of my male coaches said to me, you don't want to go in the gym too soon. Think about what you'll look like in your wedding dress. And I thought, what do you mean? Like, I'll just look strong. There's nothing wrong with looking strong, but it was immediately like, you don't want to look like that. You won't look feminine in your wedding dress. I had this dream of going to the Paralympics and winning medals, and instead someone was worrying about what I was going to look like in a dress, when actually in a dress, I look quite nice with big muscles. So it's fine by me. I've always had coaches and other athletes actually saying about other athletes that we see on the track, oh, look at them, like they're so big, they're so muscular, look at their muscles, oh, they don't look nice. And I always look at the other girls. I think they look amazing. They look beautiful. I would love to look like that. I think we just need to see it as beauty. I think it's amazing what the human body can do. So let's see that, and let's just appreciate the dedication that goes with being muscular.
It comes back again to wanting to put people in boxes of what they should be, much like these next words.
I've chosen the words Ms., Miss and Mrs. These words were my entry point into considering what the whole system of gender was really about. When I came to be married, I thought, well, I'm not changing my name, so I'm not going to be Mrs. I guess I'm not Miss anymore, so I'll be Ms. But wait a minute, my husband doesn't have to consider any of this at all, and men never do. And why is that? Why do these titles distinguish women's marital status, and why do titles even distinguish gender? And from then on, I just feel in a bit of rage whenever I have to choose a title in a drop-down menu, which is often. I go for the most ridiculous option in the drop-down menu that I can find. And if that's Brigadier, that's what I'm having. These titles really limit you to the gender binary, and that is extremely unnecessary. What is it to anybody what title you use, or even what gender you are? It's also interesting that when people have achieved non-gendered titles such as doctor, there's still a presumption amongst female identified people I know who are doctors. If they're married to a man, everyone assumes that the doctor is the male person in the relationship. So it just feels like you can't even escape it if you spent years getting a doctorate. I'm not sure that anything vital would be lost if we just didn't use titles. There are other cultures that don't use them. I think what we need to do is consider why we have them at all, and then whether we need to just transform them to something new from scratch or not even bother.
Until we've rethought titles, I think it's got to be Brigadier for me too. This next word won't be found in a drop-down menu, but it's one that I have been called.
The word that I have chosen for today is scary. You tend to define the word scary, through an emotion. Like, how does something make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? Does it make you feel scared? As I got older, I realized that if someone was to describe me as scary, it's more about my personal appearance or my physical appearance. So I guess, like, as I've grown up, the definition itself has changed from it being a feeling to now other people describing how they see me. And it all comes from their, inability to understand why someone looks so different. For me, it's a word that doesn't really, I don't allow it to define me, and it's not a word that I get offended by. Yes, I'm not the norm. I don't want to be the norm. And to some people, it might be scary to look at me. But I thought, do you know what? Bring it on. I'm going to look scary, and I'm still going to adorn the covers of magazines. So either you can adjust, right? Either you can adjust your eyes, or you can understand that what you're seeing is not that abnormal. Why is it that empowered women are called scary? That's another thing I wanted to touch upon. When a woman speaks her truth, when a woman stands up and she's openly her in a world that wants to sort of step on us, when a woman is, different and owns it, when a woman speaks in her power, owns her power, and stands in her truth, why is that scary? It's because it shakes people that don't understand themselves. It shakes people that are threatened. People are threatened by me, and that's why they call me scary, because they don't understand me. So yeah, I'm going to be scary. And if that makes you shake in your boots, well, shake in your boot.
I am down for being scary. And finally, let's make some noise and take up some space.
I've chosen the word loud. Whenever I've heard the word loud, it feels like people are telling me to be quiet, telling me to lower my voice, telling me my voice is not important. The word loud has specifically been used against Black and brown women who have the temerity to speak up against violence, against issues that plague women, against all sorts of social issues which people don't like looking at. As a person with a platform, it is my duty to speak up with those people. I do notice that online, I'm told to keep quiet, stop being so loud. It doesn't matter how you say it. Like I type my words online, but people still think they're too loud. And I began to realize that it wasn't my voice, it was what I was saying that was making people uncomfortable. The same things that I say coming from a man would not be called loud. He would probably be called somebody who's very progressive. A woman saying exactly those same things is called too loud, is told to shut up, is told to be silent, is told nobody needs to hear her voice. It's kind of found its way to be tied to attention seeking when it comes to women. Dramatic, hysterical, all of these words kind of tie in together in a way of just, stay in your place. Don't make noise. Don't be too loud. Just there's a little space which has been carved for you. Stay there. I feel like there was so much sacrifice for us to get the rights that we do have, and the work continues. Silence is not an option for us.
So many of these words, when they're used against women, are there to limit their agency and power, to diminish what they're achieving or will achieve, to put them in boxes. Let's scrap some of these words and reclaim others, but mostly, when a word is used by someone so often in a gendered way to try and put you down, know this because you shine so bloody bright that they're scared of what you and other women are going to do by how far you're going to fly. With your capacity to feel, to imagine, with your energy and your will, with your voice and your smarts and your strength. And when you take up space that you deserve, be scary, be ambitious, scrap the notion of being clean. Be emotional and loud and angry, ditch the phrase feminine hygiene, and allow yourself to be muscular. Be a sexy diva, cast off titles. And for everyone watching this, never, ever tell a woman to calm down.